Well, hello and welcome back for what is episode 20 of Talking Baldocks. We had a little short break towards the end of last year after our first 19, and now we're back. So, without further ado, who are you?
Further, further ado,
Yep, that's what I say.
well, you haven't done Happy New Year.
Well, no, but who are you, first of all?
Oh, sorry, I'm Matt Baldock.
And I'm Neil Baldock, and this is
There you
Talking
go.
Baldocks.
No, that's the ending.
No, that's the start as well.
We've had far too much of a break there. But anyway, Happy New Year. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, thank you. I mean, I saw you yesterday, so Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, we spent
But
Christmas together, so I don't really need to ask you how your Christmas was fantastic because you were around my house being waited on hand and foot. So
I did bring my own turkey, to be fair, because
you did bring
yeah.
your own turkey. Yeah, that was a strange move.
Well, I'll just put some context behind that. You invited me to a Christmas dinner without any turkey, so I cooked one and brought it.
We had chicken just for clarity. I just nobody really likes turkey, so there was just no point getting it. But no, you wanted to stick to tradition, so you brought your own turkey, and that was in no way odd. So
It was fantastic, yeah. So, well, let's get into it. It's the new year, 2026, and
yeah,
what do we think?
bit of a wrap up of last year maybe, and just a kind of a view ahead and what's kind of happening. I kind of sum up last year as okay. I don't think it was fantastic. I don't think it was terrible. I think if people are honest, it was okay, and I think the way it could have gone, most people would have taken okay.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, it was, yeah, it was probably okay. I would probably err on the side of, I think the transaction levels were not as where we would have liked them to be. Um, so it was, and certainly towards the end of the year, I think it was tough. But um, yeah, we probably had a busiest December than we've had for a long time because of all the build up from the budget and everything else. And we were quite surprised that people were still out viewing and offering on houses in December, weren't they?
Yeah, in between, we run a skeleton staff in obviously the agency that we own in between Christmas and New Year, and actually they were out doing viewings and taking offers, which I was surprised about. So um, tends to be the mid market. I always find we get going probably mid to end of January. I think I mean, me and you started back properly on Friday, sorry, Monday the 5th. I think a lot of people do. Kids went back on the 5th. I think people need this week to kind of get themselves just awake again, really, and then it kind of takes off. Having said that, I mean, I've personally listed three houses already so far this year, so three houses by the 8th, just for me, and I'm not the primary valuer. So, yeah, well, some signs of positivity out there.
Yes, yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And on the landlord side, we're having plenty of landlord conversations. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a potential acquisition with one of our partner agents. We've got one of our sort of more corporate clients, sort of institutional investors, have offered us a big portfolio that we're looking at, um, and obviously a lot of work going into towards the Renters' Rights Act and preparing our clients for that. So.
Well, let's start there because obviously, we the agency we have is a full service agency, sales and lettings. But let's go lettings and sales because obviously the Renters' Right Act is in. The changes are coming. There was obviously a change, a law a lot of people seem to miss, but I think it was back end of December where the council can
27th,
just
yeah.
can just turn up. But in terms of actual what you see and what we're seeing for our business, are we mad panicking or are we seeing this as an opportunity to actually convert landlords into managed services?
Yeah, oh yes, definitely the latter there. We're not panicking at all. But I mean anything where there's more regulation, more um change in legislation, that sort of thing is always, in my opinion, is always an opportunity. And I think anyone that looks at it in a different way is probably ready to exit the industry. Um, put simply, landlords need help, professional help, more than ever now. And I think we're certainly seeing a tide of landlords that are starting to actually approach us. And talk about management now. And when I say approach us, we've put the groundwork in, running webinars, sending emails, giving education out to these landlords. But they are now coming back to us with questions and with advice, and even some of sort of what we've termed before our die-hard let-only landlords are now starting to say, look, actually, I'm up for a managed service, and whether that's a full management or a part management. And so, letting agencies have got to look at potentially restructuring some of their services and adding new ones. Um, but there is demand for more assistance from these landlords.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, I don't think we're in a unique market as such. I think, we're in a fairly standard city or town demographic. I think we're getting towards a little bit of a perfect storm where we've got all this new regulation coming in, which is obviously worrying landlords a bit. But also, a lot of the, as you call them, the die-hard only landlords, they're actually getting to an age in their life. They're probably a bit older than us, maybe the generation above us, and they've, successful. We've got a lot of the successful businessmen, that kind of things. They've always managed to run it because, or they've employed people that have said, "Well, you work for me in this capacity, you can look after that as well." But they're now hitting that kind of golden age where they've realised, actually, I want to enjoy my life more. I want to do things, so I think you've got that kind of, say, a perfect storm where you've got landlords realising, I don't want any more stress, and I just want to enjoy myself a bit. Plus the kind of stress coming over the horizon to speed that decision up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think obviously with those type of landlords that are successful business people, they also they're still trying to grow. They might be still growing their own actual business, and so their portfolio. But what I'm finding is those people are then they're actually the ones who are now still reinvesting. So they're actually growing their portfolio, which means they need management more than ever because they're not shying away from this legislation. They're seeing it as well. They're in a position to continue investing. So I definitely agree. They've kind of got to that level where they've got enough properties that they're comfortable with the market. They've got enough money that they can continue investing, but they also want the hassle taken away from them now.
Yeah. So I think really, obviously, we try and give a bit of advice and help on this podcast as well. It's just communication, 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 right? Just you need to be out there. You need to be speaking to landlords. You need to be kind of front and center of mind.
Yeah, well, definitely, because obviously, this is the biggest change in rental legislation in decades, really. So, um, people only know what they know. So if your landlords don't know about it, then how can they come to you for assistance? So number one, you've got to tell them about it. But also, if you've got a client who is hearing about it from other letting agents or other media sources and that sort of thing, and then they're not hearing about it from you, who is their agent, um, then imagine how that sort of like sits with them. Really,
Yeah,
you should be going to them and saying, "Look, this is kind of coming around the corner. These are the problems and the pains it's going to create, and this is the solution that we have for you." Um, so that is like a big focus in our own agency, and I'd thoroughly recommend other letting agents get on board with that.
but I actually want to just labour that point a little bit because it's interesting because you're actually talking about our landlords and our database, right?
Yes.
So agents have it is a well-known kind of phenomenon in agency world. We're always chasing new clients and kind of forgetting about our own, right? And you had a bit of success, I think, yesterday, or it may have been this morning even, what you sent me in. But there's so much business in your own database as an agent. You need to look at that rather than just trying to get someone new all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, we're always going after new leads, new business, and you've got to with a letting agency. You cannot have a letting agency that stands still. If you
Mhm.
stand it still, it will only decline because people want to sell their properties, move back into them, whatever. So you have to grow your managed units. But quite rightly, you don't necessarily have to spend money on marketing to go and do it because if you've been certainly if you've been established for some time, you will have a database of people. And that email that yeah, I forwarded to you and said, oh yeah, emailing our database does work. I think by the looks of that, he'd read it in. Sorry, I'd sent it in June 2025, and he emailed me on the 7th of January 2026. So,
Right.
and I think his words were something along the lines of, I've just got round to reading your email and watching your videos. So, yeah, it's not necessarily a quick response, but the more you're doing that sort of stuff, you're just building up a pipeline of people that are kind of reading it. And you've already got trust of those people. One of the things that landlord said, and I think we managed one property for that landlord, And one of the things he said in that email was, "Can we have a chat about my portfolio?"
Yeah.
So what a great lead. I mean, that's basically if we had, if you're a letting agency, that's like a golden lead, especially because he already trusts us. And the other thing he said in there, you guys are great. So, we've got a lead from someone who's already trusts us, already deals with us, and now he's saying, I've got a portfolio and I need some advice on it. That's much better than actually going out to a brand new valuation in some respects. So, yeah, there's definitely gold in your database. And I know that's a cliched saying, but um, it's well, it would be true for stood the test of time, and it'll always be true.
Yeah, no, it definitely. Just to clarify, did he say you guys are great, or did he say Matt's great?
I think he said Neil's great, and
Right.
if I could only deal with Neil forever, that'd be fantastic. But that might have been
You're
my
being
doctrine.
generous. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. No, you are correct. And again, there's another point there is that I don't think, certainly in our business, and it's not because we do anything wrong, it's just the nature of humans. So I would say in everyone's business, you all have landlords and you don't know every property that they own. Um,
definitely. Yeah,
not people don't like to put all their eggs in one basket, and people like to spread things around a bit. So it's a case of because it's the obvious thing is saying right, so again, you've got new leads which you're chasing and you're spending money trying to buy. Great, but you've already spent a lot of money on your database. And then the obvious one there is to go after like the only landlords, for instance, and try and upsell
Mhm.
them. But even your managed landlords will probably have other properties that you don't know about.
Well, they will because what? Yeah, you've got to look at like their buying process. They go and buy the property from whatever agent it is available with.
Yeah.
So and then, generally, if that agent is any good and they do lettings, they'll try and win their business for management, and it's probably quite easy for the landlord just to give them that management. But what the landlord doesn't then do is ring up every other letting agent he works with and say, just to let you know, I should say he or she works with, but just to let you know, um, I've just bought this property and it's now under management with so and so. So you don't get a notification of that, um, but it is happening all the time because many of your landlords will be investors as well and want to keep growing their portfolio. So being in front of them and communicating with all the time is important, but also it shows value. So like when we run webinars and that sort of thing, we are looking to attract landlords that don't deal with us. We're looking to attract external new business, but we also share that to our own existing landlords because what we're doing is demonstrating the value that we provide them as part of the service they've already got with us. So educating landlords is really, it's a high leverage kind of thing because it's giving you marketing to potential new business, but also showing your value to your existing customers.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. And even, just carrying on with the next things, even on the point of sales applicants, a number of your sales applicants will be landlords, but you don't know about it because they've phoned you to buy or sell a property. They haven't phoned you with the landlord head on, and most of your sales teams probably aren't asking them, do you own any other properties?
Yeah, that's right, and that's it's a simple question, really. Is that do you own any other properties? Is there any other properties we can help with? Um, because people will obviously just human nature is we're focused on the transaction in front of us, so we're not going to just offer that information up. And so it's taken us years to get to grips with that ourselves. Probably is that like we used to think, oh, how comes we've been working with that person for so long, but they've never told us about those properties? Well,
Yeah,
probably because we haven't
exactly.
asked them.
No, and listen, I've got a great. So I mean, and I can hold my hands up on this. So one of the properties I've just listed this year for sale, I dealt with this lady about 2 years ago, sadly selling her mum's property who had passed away. So I met her at her mum's property. We handled that for her, and then I'd go and pick up keys from where she lived in her family home with her husband. And there was never any mention of any other property. Now, she just phoned me again this year, which goes back to nurturing your database, and said, oh, I've got a little one bed house I need to sell. And I
Mm.
was like, okay, kind of where's that come from? She said, oh, it was mine, but when I moved in with my husband, I let it out. So actually, she was a landlord who I didn't know about because, as you say, she was just focused on selling her mum's property. I can make the excuse and say because it was sensitive, I didn't want to put her through it. But in reality, I thought, fine, you're selling a property and didn't think to have that necessarily wider conversation with her. And so the one good thing we've done is carry on nurturing, keeping in touch, did a great service for her, so she's come back to us. But that's a perfect case. She owned a rental property that I didn't know about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's other, and, there's other ways to find out what people own, and there's softwares and things like that that you can kind of dig into. But the other thing to remember is you can't put people under pressure to tell you everything they own, um, all in one go either, can you? So
No,
it's
no.
like finding that balance. But it is having that culture of being. It's actually it's being inquisitive, isn't it? It's being it's and I thought I throughout as we've kind of been building the letting side of things, I've always just been really inquisitive with people and said, even to like, how did they buy things? How did they get started? How did they finance all these properties? And I just want to know all that stuff because, I like to understand them, but I also want to look at, right, well, I might learn something and how can we buy a property? But if you get really inquisitive with clients just in general, um, because they'll soon tell you if you're asking, if you overstep the mark, then they'll just
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
that's none of your business.
But I think, I think curiosity is a massively underrated skill in agency. Um, I think psychologically we all get it beaten out of us a little bit as kids. We get told to stop asking so many questions, and then you almost have to retrain yourself as an adult. But I think,
Yeah,
we always say the more questions you ask, the more answers you're going to get. But yeah, one key takeaway, if you like, for 2026, something we'll be encouraging our team here to is be more curious. Take a genuine interest in people, ask more questions, and it'll be surprising what comes up.
100%.
Um, just again, so flipping onto the sales side, maybe just to carry on that theme of the database. So again, it's January, so agents are there. We want more business. We want the leads coming in. You do Facebook ads, you do Google ads, you do your tout letters. But the three that I personally have listed have been that lady who I sold for 2 years ago. Um, Another lady I've just been to see this morning who I valued it for about a year ago. And she had a bit of a land on the side, which actually I don't think we can do anything with, but I've kept in touch with her because I told her I would see if we could do anything because we wanted to exhaust all those options. So I've kind of kept in touch with her. And then the third one, I mean, it's a part exchange, but it's a part exchange with a local builder who we've sold, I think, four for last year. And again, just you just keep in touch with people. So don't get me wrong, in sales, you are out there chasing new business, but again, don't forget all those past valuations you've done, and the people you spoke to. And again, people, even if you've sold one house for them, that was the only house they own, they will sadly have family members that are going to go through stuff in their lives, and so houses will then have to be sold, and you can be front of mind for that.
Definitely, definitely. I think, you know, if you, especially if you've got a database out there already, you should be nurturing it and sending emails to it. But now is a great time to send a really simple email to everybody in the database, simply asking a very simple question: have you got any plans to move in 2026? Because you never know who's going to just go, like, do you know what I mean? Again, people aren't just going to ring you up until they're really ready, but you
Yeah.
might get people who see that and it triggers them to respond and say, well, actually, I am, but not till the summer, but for whatever reason. Then you've got a conversation happening and you start building your pipeline already.
Yeah, no, 100%. And just to be clear, because obviously we're saying how these like emails go out regularly, but we also do anniversary emails. So on the year that somebody bought or sold a house to us, they get just an automatic email saying, it's been another year since you've owned it. If you'd like to get an up-to-date idea of what the price, how much you could get for it, because again, they might have money they could pull out of it to buy a buy to let, or they might have plans to make. But also, we're on the phones. We're phoning everybody and having chats. So it's not so yes, it's great to have these automated emails going out and send these
Mm.
things, but agents still very much a contact sport, and we're still very much on the phones phoning past completions, past valuations. I even think there's a case to phone past viewings because if they didn't buy through you, they probably bought through somebody else, and that agent hasn't got in touch with them. So that's probably my one thing that a lot of agents, I don't think 99% of agents will do. They're the people to phone, but it's important to be on those phones, right?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, this is a relationship business, isn't it? Um, we've all seen it before where you've sold a house or you've sold two down the road and then someone sells with someone else and you literally like can't believe it. You're like, well, why the hell have they sold with someone else? Why haven't they sold with us? It's because you didn't have a relationship with them. So the more you actually talk to people and build your relationships with them, um, then obviously the more you can expect to come out the other end.
Yeah. So one thing I'm keen to speak to agents about this year, and I'd like agents to do, is on that relationship side, is understand that not every seller is going to be for them, and they're not going to be for every seller, and actually build the relationships with the right people. And I've had a couple of things that have happened so already this year. So the lady I was just speaking to with the plotman side, so I looked at it last year for her. I've kept in touch with her, and I've just been honest with her. You know, everybody wants inflated values for their properties. Everybody wants to think if they've got a bit of land, they're going to be millionaires. And I've just gone and I've said, listen, I don't think you're going to do anything with it, so I don't think it's worth anything. She's fine. She just didn't want any bullshit. She said, I've come to you, Matt, because her brother had actually bought a house through me, so she knew I was kind of straight talking. Um, but I've just sat with her and I've basically said, you know, so this is the price. This is going to be your investment in our service. This is going to be the amount that you're going to pay up front. This is the solicitor I'd recommend we kind of go with. This, and she's gone, yep, 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 yep. And actually, I had 15 minutes waiting for this podcast, so I just sent her the paperwork because we use Catini, as I think I speak about quite a bit. And within 3 minutes, she signed the contract and she paid for the EPC and our upfront marketing fee. Just done. So she's the kind of customer you want to work with. I've also had a
Absolutely.
conversation with a lady. I went to see her December 24. And look back, she actually did sign terms with us. Um, I thought the house was worth late 400s. She wanted to push it and push it, push it. So I said I'd list it at 500 maximum. And I remember having about half an hour conversation with her because she signed terms. And then she phoned up to say she wanted to put the house up by £50,000. And I was just like, look, there's just no way I'm doing that. And the way the conversation went on, I just thought, actually, I don't think you're the person for me. So I said, listen, I know you've signed terms, but don't worry about that. Wish you all the best. Anyway, she went on with another agent at £100,000 more. So rather than 500,000, she went on at 600,000. And surprisingly, in 60 days, she didn't sell the property. She then went on with another agent, and it's currently been on the market since March 2025 for over 500,000. She's moved out, the house is empty, and it's just sitting there. So she phoned me and went through it, and it was. She said, "Oh, I know estate agents don't phone people unless they've got viewing." I said, "No, that's not true. My team will phone you every week." So we went through a few things, and I said, "We don't have professional photos. You don't have a video. You're not having any contact. So they're all the things I'll change. The price does need to come down a little bit." And then we got into what's the fee? Well, I said, "Well, you know, you should know. You've signed terms before. You know, we've actually put them up, but I'll honour that for you." Oh, well, the other two agents I've worked with are charging 1%, including that.
No.
And you're kind of like, okay, well, how's that work? How's that worked out for you? Well, not real, but it is important. And I just said, and I actually said to her, listen, I'm not doing this dance again. I said, because she's like, I'll go away and think about it, I'll come back to you. I said, no, no, don't worry about that because I don't want to waste your time. So there's no negotiation
Mm.
whatsoever. And she actually said, oh, I don't like being told what to do. And I said, well, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just explaining.
I'm
You've
explaining
had
what we charge, yeah.
Yeah, you've had an awful service, and you've told me, I've told you very simply how we can fix it all. And I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to be a huge sum of money. And I just thought, and I kind of, she won't be chased, put it that way. If she phones me and she's willing to play ball, fine. But I will not be following that up anymore because I know she wasn't my client a year ago. She's just proved again she's not a client.
Mm.
I want to spend more time with this lady today that's kind of valued everything we've done, signed up straight away. But every time you say yes to somebody you shouldn't really work with, you're saying no to people that you kind of do want to work with. And the flip side, I saw something on Instagram, sorry, LinkedIn the other day, someone saying about turning, you know, so they said no. And I said, saying no is a very powerful word because every time you say no to something, you're giving yourself space to say yes to things that are better for you.
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely. And I think one of the things we're kind of focusing on at the minute is chasing profit rather than revenue.
Mm.
And that's going to be like a big theme for us this year. And what other industry, and this is why I don't, basically, what I'm getting around to saying is you can decide to charge more just by deciding.
Yeah.
So, and it maybe this is like a thing for another big podcast because we could probably talk for hours on just this, but I think it's really important to cover it here. Is literally the next valuation you go to, you could go from 1% to 1.5% because you've never been to that valuation before. So they don't know what your fees are. And your fees are whatever you decide your fees are on that day.
Hmm.
Obviously, you'd be a bit of an unscrupulous business to change your fees every day,
Yeah,
but you can decide, no, I'm not working for that much anymore. There's no other industry in the world where somebody will dictate to you what you are paid.
yeah,
And quite simply, I often say to clients, what job do you do? And they say, I don't know, I'm an IT consultant. Okay, and you're on, I'm plucking figures out of the air, but you're on £500 a day. Well, I really want to work with you, but I want you to do it for £400 a day. What are you going to say to me? You're going to tell me on your bike, Neil. But agents don't have that mindset. They just like, oh yeah, well, we want the market share, we want the property, we want the listing, we want everything. And the other exercise that's really important to do is actually work out what does it cost you to sell each house? Because I bet most agents don't know that. So
yeah.
then they don't know what their minimum fee needs to be, and they don't know at what level they're actually making any money. So they're just on a treadmill selling houses for no reason really. Certainly if you're the business owner. So yeah, it's just, but I we tend to this industry tends to have a real problem with like a mindset around charging more. Oh, well, I can't because I've got so much competition. But again, why are you letting your competitor tell you what you will earn?
Mm.
Otherwise, you're letting your competitors set your own wages. I'm not going to do that. Like, I want to earn a certain amount of money. I want to have a certain amount of profit, and I'm going to work towards that. So it's
No,
just a
exactly.
mindset thing.
Yeah, and also it just doesn't serve anybody a lot. So, like, if you take this house that, let's say it's worth 500, and so an agent comes and puts up at 600 and goes, I'm going to be 1% including that, fine. So there's, I mean, maybe, I don't know, they're going to get 5 grand or something. So they think that's a reasonable fee. But they didn't get it. But so this is the bit that really
Yeah.
kind of blows my mind. It's like you've messed with someone's life because this lady was going through a situation, needed to move. She has moved. She's got an empty house because you told her. So that you know my feelings about the importance of agents. So number one, I think you've just fucked this lady's life. But number two, even if we don't care about that, we're here to make money. You haven't made any money.
Yeah.
You've
Well,
paid
you've
someone to
actually
go and
lost
take.
it.
Well, you've lost it. Yeah, you've taken. You've paid the actual money out in terms of the photos and stuff. But obviously, you've lost the money in terms of your staff wages. Your electric and your all the stuff people forget about to kind of factor in. So like, you've lost money. Her life hasn't gone the way it should have done. I just don't get the upside to it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it depends I guess what environment of estate agency you're in, doesn't it? If you're in
Yeah.
corporate agency, you're just told to chase listings. If you're in, um, if you're starting your own business, but it's important to know that as well, that, okay, what am I prepared to work for? Because you could start your own business and become very, very busy and stressed all of a sudden by doing very well in terms of look at how many houses I've got on the market and how many I've sold, but how much money are you actually taking out of that? So yeah,
Let's
and
do
look,
let's do maybe even the next podcast. Let's do that more on and not these. I can't these people wank, just charge more because Ralph Lauren charge more than next. No, no, no. Like, let's the points you've explained. Actually understanding how much it costs you to sell a house, valuing yourself, your time, and
yeah,
let's chat about that.
yeah, definitely. And also, it'd be very important. We'll mention it in that one as well. But you can't you've got to show the value.
Yeah, yeah, of
You've got
course.
to demonstrate the value. You've got to show it. So, and there's ways to do that. And I think people don't always know how to actually demonstrate value. They might provide it, but they don't know how to show it and how to demonstrate it. And so we'll talk about that as well.
Perfect. Good stuff. Well, I think we're coming up to about the half an hour mark. where we
Okay,
like
cool.
to where we like to go. Oh, just the one thing I will just finally mention, just a bit. There seems to be some positive sentiment out there. Anyway, just generally, I put a little poll up on LinkedIn as I like to do every now and again, just asking what people's employment plans were for the future. Because again, there is this kind of AI is coming in, going to take people's jobs, and that kind of thing. So I just basically asked people, are agency owners, I should say, are we looking to employ, to lose headcount, or stay the same, that kind of thing? And interestingly, 40% of people that have responded are saying they're looking to employ more people this year.
Interesting.
Um, 21% said they've got no plans, going to see what happens. 28% were let's stay the same, and 12%, only 12% said they're actively looking to decrease. Obviously, those numbers will change as what happens in the market kind of goes, but it does seem a lot of people, I think a lot of agents have put a lot of headwind behind this pent up demand after the budget, and they're looking for a kind of a big 2026 here to go from there. So, yeah, there does seem to be some positivity out there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think it should be a good year. I think, we've got to get behind it and keep the momentum. Interesting about AI, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's obviously a big AI company because this Chinese guy or something was the CEO of it, and he was talking. But somebody asked him a question about they're building robots, AI robots, and saying, are these going to take all the humans' jobs? And he actually said actually quite the opposite because these guys are going to be able, these robots will be able to do so much um, that it will basically increase the output of work that is then available for the humans. So yeah, I don't think it's certainly in our business. This is always going to be a people business, um, and there is uses for AI, and that's probably a conversation for another day. But
Yeah.
um, it's never going to wipe out the humans, but it's got to be humans that are being productive.
Yeah, 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 definitely people do. I would, my kind of, so I think we angle this a lot to business owners, but if there is any employed agents listening to this, my advice for you is be productive and show your value. Because let's be really, really honest, as business owners, it is fucking more expensive than it has ever been to employ people.
Mm.
Um, and you cannot carry, you just, it's not even a want. You physically, businesses cannot afford to carry people anymore. Um, and I think what AI will do well, it already does it, but I think by the end of this year, it'll be almost perfect at it, is be able to book a view, answer a phone and book a viewing, register an
Mm.
applicant. But it won't be able to build that personal connections for the listing. So if you are brutally honest with yourself and you got through last year by just answering the phone saying, hello, so and so estates, okay, you'd like to view one on Acacia Avenue, yes, we can do 1 o'clock, you've got a bit of a short shelf life on that one. So I would suggest you start really getting out there, showing more interest in the market, being more curious, um, and being more value to customers. At what point, and that point, because if you're valuable to the customers, you're going to be valuable to your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff. Okay. Well, mate, I'd like to say good to see you again, but as I say, I only saw you yesterday, but it's been good to talk on a screen again and get the podcast back up and running. So, thank you to all listening. Just a quick plug. As I say, we tend to give all this out for free, and I'm not looking to charge anybody anything, but we will mention the estate agents dinner. So the estate agents dinner that me and you run is back this year, every other month. So the next one is on the 15th of January. Um, and then we'll be running them in March, May, July, September, and November. So look out on our LinkedIn's. There'll always be a link there. You can see all the dates. But if you kind of enjoyed listening to me and Neil as such, but would like to be part of that conversation, you don't come to dinner, me and Neil just talk. It's a room full of people talking about all the stuff that's going on in agency. So if you want to be more involved in that, you want to surround yourself with good agents, please do come to a dinner this year.
Absolutely.
Okay, and on that point, so I've been Matt Baldock, you've been,
Neil Baldock,
and this has been Talking Baldocks.
see you next time.
See you later. See, that's how it's done.